about. It's interesting to hear the comments from Longley and Harry Kane after the game talking about our performances in the first half. Longley saying how we weren't really sure whether to attack or whether to sit deep, and we were kind of caught in between. Because they knew. This is what I was worried about before going into the game. We knew a draw is good enough to get us through. So how do we approach the game in the first half when the score is 0-0? Do you go all out and try and get the first goal, knowing that if you do concede the first goal, you're going to go behind, or do you keep what you have, knowing that a draw is good enough to see you through?
I get that, but why? How can you go into a game not knowing a game plan? Surely the management team and everyone sets out a game plan for you going into the game, and you just apply the game plan.
Yeah, it's not as simple as that, though, because the player's mentality goes into it. At the end of the day, they're the ones who have to perform it on the pitch, and the game plan obviously probably wouldn't be to commit too much risk, probably in the game. And Harry Kane was talking about how in the first half, obviously they were trying to sit a bit deeper and kind of hit Marseille on the counter, but unfortunately they weren't able to get out. They were sitting too deep. They weren't finding the right balance between pressing high and sitting deep. And he says a lot of the time the game plan is to get forward with a few breakaways, win a few set pieces, and you can start pressing really high and penning them in. But we weren't really doing that at all in the first half, and we never really got into situations where we could press Marseille. We were not playing out the back at all well. Kane and Son were really deep in our own half, and it was really frustrating, to be honest, how conservative and pragmatic we were being in that first half. And to be fair, after an early flurry of chances from Marseille, the game did calm down a bit after, I would say, about the 20-minute mark, and they didn't really do much up until right at the end of the half, which they started to get back into it again. And then obviously they did get the goal through the corner, which you got to say, under the circumstances that we were doing, especially seeing as we were going really defensive and we were getting really pragmatic and we were trying to make sure that not to give Marseille any encouragement. How can you switch off from a set piece like that right before the half time as well? That is absolutely criminal to do that. And if you look at where Mbemba is, no one's picking up. It's a completely free header just outside the 6-yard box. We just switch off from a corner. Also, the corner comes from a sloppy moment from Session where he sees it out for a corner where he could have easily kept that on and either put out for a throw. And yeah, he was just a bit all over the place really throughout the game, Sessegnon. So
and what was Dyer? What was Dyer doing in that first half? I mean, overhead kicks in trying to play a man on guard. There was a couple of times where he just hit the ball towards, like, in some really dangerous areas near our box, and I was like, what the hell are you doing in such a big game like that?
Yeah, he was doing some really silly things. There was a couple of moments. There was one kick up and volley back to Longley, which really put us in trouble, and then there was one really unnecessary crossfield pass as well from his position, which nearly also put us unnecessarily under really deep trouble. And he was just taking some really unnecessary risks. Maybe I put it down to the fact that he wasn't as used to playing that right centre-back position, so maybe he wasn't as sure of his angles. But I mean, I don't know.
Used to it or not, it's still not an excuse to do stuff like that in a game like that. I mean, it was terrible. It really was, and it could have really been to the detriment of us. Luckily, it wasn't, to be honest.
Yeah,
really,
we got away with them. We got away with them a bit, and there was the moment where he volleyed it back to Longley unnecessarily. Longley actually controls it. He controls it with his hand. So if the referee sees that, on another day, we could have been in real trouble. Maybe it would have been a free kick, and if he deems it denying a goal scoring opportunity, you never know. I think it would have been a harsh decision, but you never know. You're giving him a decision to make there. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, we're talking about something very different. But luckily, it didn't cost us at that moment. But and then obviously, Son goes down after half an hour as well, and he doesn't look like he's in a good way at the moment. Apparently his eye's still very swollen, and then so he goes off. So one of our attacking options to get back in the game isn't there as well. So then we concede a goal. So at half time, it pretty much couldn't have been going much worse. One of our best attacking options gone down injured. We've gone to a 3-5-2 as well, which is a bit more of I feel like a defensive formation. Obviously, we're 1-0 down. We're heading out the Champions League. We literally, our only shot on goal had just come just before the halftime break, which was a pot shot from 25 yards. And you're thinking, how can we turn this around? It's going to be very, very difficult to turn this one around. We have to play Lucas Moura and Kane up front as well. How are we going to get back in this game? But to be fair, we came out in the second half a completely different team. Emerson Royale comes on a half-time with Sessegnon. And all of a sudden, we had a much better balance in the team, I felt, definitely on the wings. And then the midfielders were getting much more involved in the game. We were pressing much more aggressively, winning the ball in the central areas where we could exploit the space much more effectively. And it was night and day from the first half in terms of how we approached the game from a physical and aggressive aspect.
Yeah, I mean, there were players on that pitch that were just completely different from first half to second half. I mean, we start playing football the way we know we can. Bentancur and Højbjerg were unreal in that second half. They really were. I thought Emerson Royale, he came on a bit into the second half. I thought he, added a lot to the team. Much more solid defensively on that side, and he was even getting up the pitch. Perisic, I thought, had a really good performance. Harry Kane was orchestrating things up there, and I thought it was just night and day from first half to second half. And straight away in that second half, we're getting chances. Harry Kane misses a big opportunity where you think he's probably going to put it away, and then later on in the half, Harry Kane gets that offside goal, which it was miles offside, to be fair. And then Clement Longley scores from a corner. An unbelievable free kick, an unbelievable cross from Perisic once again. And the way Longley rose, gets his first goal for Spurs, and what an important goal that was. I mean, I can't stress that enough. And
the timing of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Really. And ultimately, that was the goal that really sent us through.
Yeah, I mean, it gave us that kind of calmness that we're not chasing the game anymore. And then all of a sudden, once it goes to 1-1, we have control. We can control the game. Marseille have to come on to us. The space opens up, and all of a sudden we can start exploiting them. And the longer it went on at 1-0, the more compact Marseille get, and the more they're going to try and hang on to results. So to get that goal. At the time that we did was crucial, because you don't want that to carry on for too much longer.
What minute of the game was it?
I think it was around the hour mark, wasn't it? I'm trying to see here. It was the 54th minute. So it was really important to get it early in the second half, and it was reward for a good start to the second half as well.
It was, and we were such. I mean, I don't get it how you could be so different from the first half to the second half. I get it, maybe one or two games here or there, but so consistently every single game, it's so mind-boggling to me. And the chances that Marseille had in the first half, they weren't getting in the second half up until the very latter stages of the game. We were restricting them to long shots, and they weren't doing much with them. Højbjerg, so Kane gets that offside goal, then Højbjerg hits the bar. Then after that, Marseille start coming back into it.
Yeah, we started panicking.
We started panicking a bit. We started to lose our shape. The passing had gone, and Kolasinac misses that sitter with, 4 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go. And just before that, Perisic makes a match-saving challenge as well. That block. Right, if he doesn't make that block, it's a goal. Mm-hmm. So those two chances we get away with. And then what happens, and we go grab the winner on the break, as Marseille have completely flooded forward, and it's a 2-on-1 situation. Harry Kane is 1-on-1 with the defender. Højbjerg makes that run on the outside, and don't take away from that finish, because that finish is unbelievable. On the inside of the post, a few moments before that, 10 minutes before that, he hits the bar as well, and you're thinking, it's not our day. I mean, maybe we're not going to win this group and blah, blah, blah. But he does the job, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you can't underestimate how amazing that finish was outside of the box as well. You don't really associate that kind of finishing with Højbjerg, albeit he has scored a few more goals this season. That finish was right out of the top drawer. That was a top class finish from a midfielder who's banging form this season. 8 goal contributions, and we've just begun November, is really that would, Kevin De Bruyne would be happy with those numbers this season. So the fact that Højbjerg is picking up those numbers so far is really impressive. Yeah, and it was important to win because I think topping the group obviously gives you that better chance to go through. So you can't underestimate how important that was. But it was such an interesting dynamic going to those last few minutes because Marseille were obviously pushing forward for the winner. The manager didn't communicate to the team that if they only needed a draw to make sure they're in Europa League.
To communicate it to the team.
Exactly.
Anyway.
It was, and then on the counter attack, when Harry Kane picks up the ball, he literally runs on the pitch. He looks like he's about to tackle Kane himself in that moment.
Is he not going to get like a fine for that or like a ban or something?
I don't know. I think the fact they conceded in that moment, they'll probably just get away with it. And what they're out anyway, what's he going to ban them for? You know what I mean? It's
if that was Spurs, we would get a ban for next season.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they will look into it, to be fair. But he literally runs on the pitch trying to urge his team, get it back in position. We only need a draw to qualify. It was interesting. Mbemba, after the game, was talking about it. And he said that it wasn't communicated to the team that they only needed a draw to qualify because they didn't know what was going on in the other games. And I don't know who you blame with that. Probably you blame the people on the bench for not communicating with the team effectively enough. And obviously they piled men forward and gave us the opportunity to get the winner. And it was a brilliant moment. It was a mixture of relief and just a bit of quality as well from Højbjerg, which led to some scenes in the studio here and in the crowd in Marseille. And they said it was our best European night since Amsterdam, they're saying.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I can't remember too many good European nights since then, to be honest. So you're probably, it's probably our best. I mean, most definitely our best European night since Ajax. What other good European nights have we had since then?
Yeah, not many. Beat Red Star, I guess. 5-0. That was good. I don't think we had too many, have we? Well, I remember we came back from 2-0 down against Olympiacos. That was a good game.
Yeah. But this is a different level to that.
Jose. Not really too many.
We beat Mura at home.
Mura, of course, the class game beating Mura. Yeah, not been many, to be fair. Not been many.
Yeah.
7-2
against Maccabi Haifa.
Yeah, exactly. These are the games. So it was a really good night. And to qualify as group winners. And at the end of the day, people say you can argue that we struggled and we scraped through. But at the end of the day, out of 6 games, we only lost 1, and then we won 3 and drew in 2. So it's not like we struggled that badly. And like, as much as people say, oh, it's the worst group in the tournament, blah blah blah. Yes, there wasn't an amazing team in there in terms of Sporting Frankfurt and Marseille, all not the top tier. But also you got to remember there's no rubbish team there as well. All teams are like competent. Exactly. Yeah. There's no whipping boy. So every game is a bit of a battle. Whereas, when in other teams, they got like people like Victoria Pilsen and these kind of teams in their groups where you're going to get a win in these games. And you're going to get points. So I think maybe it gets underestimated how difficult that can be. And that's why it was such a close group. But at the end of the day, we did top it with 11 points out of a possible 18. So it really wasn't I know we only got there in the last game, but I think we deserved to go through in the end, and we were showing the best team.
We deserved to top the group, and we should have topped the group last week. Let's be honest, against Sporting Lisbon. Mm-hmm. We should have won that game, and I think out in Frankfurt we should have won as well. We deserved to win that game. So actually, I think that we had a couple of results go against us where we probably deserved to win those games. So we actually should have been qualified probably a lot longer than before we were. And
also, Conte wasn't there in the stands as well. Important to know. Harry Kane mentioning at half-time, Lloris, Delaney and Mason kind of gave team talk to the team at the half-time break to try and G them up and get a better performance out of the lads, and obviously that definitely did work. You saw Conte. It was very interesting when we equalised. Conte, it could have been like the teams coming out for half time. You wouldn't have noticed the difference between Conte's celebration there when we scored the equaliser, but when we did get the winner, he went absolutely mental, and maybe that was his relief that he knows that we were going through at that moment and topping the group. But he must have been very proud of the team without him there on the sideline to have turned it around like they did and showed the character they did in that second half. He must be very proud.
It was a gutsy performance from the boys, and he'll definitely be proud. And at half time, everything was going against us. I mean, we were sitting here being like, well, what is going to happen in this game? I mean, everything is going against us. Sonny's gone down injured. He's gone off. We've gone for a 3-5-2. Marseille are all over us. We can't seem to make 2 passes together. I mean, everything was going against us. Marseille were getting good chances. Lloris was making good saves, They get that lead just before the half-time, and you're just thinking, oh, my God. But They dug in, they dug really deep, and they showed a really gutsy display that Spurs fans should be proud of last night in a stadium that was very intense atmosphere, and we actually shut them up. We actually, silenced their crowd, who were very loud in the first half and going into the game. So I'm super proud of the lads. I'm proud of, as well, a few players that come on. I thought Basuma come on and did really well. One of his better displays in the Spurs shirt. I thought we saw the signs in that game. We saw a few glimpses of maybe the old Basuma that we have seen in the Brighton shirt, where he gets the ball, he wiggles his way through a few men and gets the team and plays the ball forward and stuff like that. So I want to see Basuma do more of that, and I was happy with his display yesterday.
Yeah, and I thought defensively, for sure, he was really aggressive. And not only what I was happy with Basuma is when he won the ball, he didn't just keep possession in a safe way. He actually looked forward and was passing into space, a bit like he was doing against Leicester and against Everton when he came on in those games. And it was a really good substitute performance from him. I was really happy. And there was occasionally as well where it looked like they were about to nick the ball off him, and he was able to just do a little dribble and be very press resistant. And I thought it was a really, really good display. I thought all three central midfielders in the second half stepped up for us massively, and those were the three main players for me in that second half, which gave us a platform to improve to get closer to Marseille, press higher and be more aggressive. And ultimately it led us in many occasions winning the ball in the center of the park and springing on Marseille, which led us to push further up the pitch. I think the midfielders really stepped up for us in the second half, and ultimately went a long way for us winning the game. And obviously talk about Rodrigo Bentancur, another marvellous display from him. He was given the fans man of the match last night. I think Lloris was given the official man of the match, but
Bentancur, the man of the match last 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, he was exceptional yet again. Talk about some of our best moments in that second half. A lot of them came from him. And what's also really impressing me is first of all, you keep talking about how he's taking a bit more responsibility on his game, but you can see that with not only is it in his attacking game getting more shots and things, but dribbling, he is taking it past people so much more often and into the box as well. I can remember in my mind against Lisbon a couple of times he's breaking into the box, running, dribbling, and creating something. And against Marseille, he did it a couple of times. That chance from Højbjerg all came from a dribble from Bentancur down the left-hand side, and an accurate cutback as well, which led to the chance for Højbjerg. And the amount of times as well he's so good at nicking the ball off players, but not nicking it in a way where he can drive forward after and actually get us on the front foot. He's so good at that.
We weren't seeing from him last season. Last season, he would pick up the ball, but he would just play it sideways and backwards and play it more safe than anything else and keep the ball ticking over. Now he's actually looking to hurt the opposition at every opportunity.
I felt like at Juventus, from what I saw anyway, he was much more of a sitting midfielder. He was much more of like a Makelele or something, someone who would just sit in the defensive midfielder position, obviously cover a lot of ground, but wouldn't break forward too much. But it feels like this season,
what we saw last season.
Yeah, exactly. But it feels like this season he's come on so much in his game, and he's got so much more confidence and responsibility. And maybe it's I don't know what it is, but maybe it must be.
I know exactly what it is. He's been Conte'd. That's what's
he's been Conte'd. There you go. And I think we've waxed lyrical a lot about Højbjerg this season, his improved performances, but Bentancur now is on the same level to that in terms of this season.
I firmly believe, I'd actually say right now, I think that Bentancur has been our player of the season. I said Højbjerg a few weeks ago, maybe at the beginning of the month, but I actually think the performances of Bentancur this season, when you add them into what he's been doing all season anyway, I would actually put Bentancur as our best player of the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good shout. He's, especially recently, even in our bad form, he's been really good. He's been performing at a really high level. So I've got to say I'm delighted with how he's coming on, and I'm really happy that he's turning into a midfielder better than maybe we thought he could be when we first signed him. Everyone thought we were getting a Juventus reject, but he's playing really, really well at the moment. Højbjerg as well, as we've said before, getting another goal. Could have hit the bar as well, so could have had another goal.
Bro, this guy plays every single minute of every single game, Højbjerg.
And he looked like he was on his knees at the end as well.
How does he make that run in the last minute?
Yeah, I don't know.
And finish like that as well.
Yeah, it's
the guy is Superman.
Yeah.
How do you do that when like you say, like he was on his legs? Like,
Yeah, he
it's
looked like he
mental.
twisted his ankle or something just before that. He was hobbling, and he went off and then came back on, and then he somehow makes the run in the finish. An absolute warrior for Højbjerg was in that second half, and obviously a moment of quality. And he's continually adding those moments of quality as well. Højbjerg, so underrated. He's so much more than just a headless chicken in the centre, which maybe he was near the beginning of his Spurs tenure, but now he's much more refined, and he's becoming that midfielder everyone hoped he would. That kind of box to box effective midfielder. So that's really good. I thought Harry Kane stood up for the team as well. His hold up play was exceptional, and he didn't have much to play with, especially
Should have had a
in
few
his
goals
support.
though. I mean, there was a few moments in there, you know, because if we don't get the win and if we don't, you know, didn't score in that second half, you're going to look at those chances and being like,
There wasn't really any clear-cut chances. There was one
Just
where
moments, isn't
there were
there?
a couple of moments where the keeper fumbled a couple times. One Emerson cross, which the keeper just parried it away from Kane, and then the next one was I think it was Bentancur with a ball, and the keeper fumbled it, and it pretty much fell to Kane, and he couldn't quite turn it home.
Yeah.
He took a poor touch. Other than that, he didn't have too many other chances. But when I sympathised with Kane because he held the ball up a lot, and he didn't have too much to play with. Like, he didn't have too many runners. But what he did do really well was win free kicks in positions where he had players around him, held the ball up, was good at dribbling, and he ultimately won the free kick, which we got the goal from as well. And he got the assist, which at the end with a good pass to Højbjerg. So Kane stepped up massively for us, and it was just a real performance of character from the team yesterday.
second half anyway.
Yeah, in the second half, and I'm very proud of us getting through, because I was worried, and I think you could see from the game why I was worried going into this game that we weren't going to do it. But
I don't think you would have been proper Spurs if you weren't worried going into the game yesterday. Let's be honest.
But it was a dramatic day overall in the group. There were 5 changes at the top of the group yesterday. We ended up back where we started with Spurs topping the group, but we were first, second, and third throughout the game yesterday. Even in the last half an hour, we went from first to second with 15 minutes to go, then
So
top.
Marseille were never top at all.
Marseille, no, because when they were winning, Lisbon were winning.
Because we said on the stream yesterday 4 teams were top at one stage, but it was just 3, wasn't it?
There were 4 different changes.
Yeah, but only 3 different leaders, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
But there were a lot of changes during the game, so it was a dramatic day in the group. But thankfully, we came out on top.
Yeah, we started the day top, we ended the day top. Marseille started the day bottom and ended the day bottom, but there were so many different changes for it. It was actually nuts.
The only
trying to follow it.
the only change from the thing is Lisbon dropped into the Europa League, and they were in the Champions League.
Yeah, and they'll be very
second.
disappointed with that, with the start they had to this group.
Yeah, they had 2 wins on the bounce at the start, so they'll be kicking themselves. They couldn't take full advantage of that. But yeah, it was brilliant. In terms of the first half performances, it was interesting hearing there was Lloris, Kane, and Stellini all talked about it in their post-match comments. Lloris kind of blamed it on the schedule, claiming that it's hard for Spurs to go all out pressing for 90 minutes because the schedule's so intense that it's difficult for Spurs to do it.
So what's he claiming? That they're conserving energy for the second halves to go hard
Well,
in the second halves?
Kane claims that it's easier for us to go more pressing and higher up the pitch when we're losing. That's a possible reason. And Stellini said what you just said in a way. He claims that part of it is tactical in a way, because he said that sometimes in the first half you could wear a team down. You allow them control and they can wear themselves out, and then with our superior fitness we can then go for it in the second half, knowing that we have the superior fitness, and if we need a goal late on, well, there's a good chance of us getting it. And given the amount of late goals we've been getting, I mean, he's not completely wrong, but it's obviously it is a dangerous game, but it's not a tactic that has been, I mean, it's obviously against Man United and against Newcastle and against Sporting, it didn't work out. But a few times it has worked out as well. But you've got to be, if that is a tactical, if that is what's called on purpose, they are playing a very, very dangerous game, and especially if you think about the better Champions League teams come the knockouts, that's not a tactic that would work. But hopefully, I'm thinking there's only a tactic they would be using because of all the circumstances surrounding the first half of the season.
The matter is that we've been outdone by pretty much all the sides of proper quality that we've played this season. And that's just the facts of the matter, and we need to get better, and we need to start performing in first halves as well. But are we going to be able to do that until we start bringing in new players? I mean, we saw it last season when we played one game a week. We could play for 90 minutes, but now I got a feeling it is to do with the schedule, because we've got too many games at the moment, not enough players to play all these games.
And we've got injuries as well. We can't rotate with Richarlison
even
and
before the
Kulusevski.
injuries, we were still like performing poor in first halves, and the second halves we were better. Maybe not to this extreme.
Yeah, not to that. I don't think it was this extreme, but yeah, that was a case.
There was a case for it.
Yeah. So I still think the injuries play a big part at the moment, and our ability to change it is hamstrung.
Going into the Liverpool game, though, we could have Kulusevski, Richarlison, Romero, Son, and Bentancur out.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what the deal is with Bentancur.
It looked like he was holding his hamstring before he went off.
Yeah, if that's the case, then that's really
He's
bad
going to be
news.
out for the until the break.
Yeah, probably. If it's a hamstring, 2 weeks automatically. So, hopefully, it wasn't a strain or anything or a pull, and it was just he felt something, so they took him off. But it's worrying for sure. Liverpool obviously just won against Napoli, and Liverpool, whatever you want to say about Liverpool, they're always going to be always going to be difficult. Even in the games that they've lost this season, there's been a lot of them. Like, it's not like they've been battered or like it's been easy. Like against Arsenal could have easily dropped points in that game. Against Forest, what's his name? Henderson had an unbelievable game. Against Leeds, Meslier had an absolute worldie. So it's not like this is they're dropping points and they're like it's easy for the opposition to get points. So they make no bones about it. It's going to be a very difficult game for us on Sunday. 100%, it's going to be difficult, and we're going to have to somehow couple together a team to get a result. And it's going to be difficult to do that without some of these players.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sai with the super chat is saying there's actually 50% tickets off for Liverpool on Sunday because Spurs only turn up at half time. So. Yeah, get your 50% tickets while you can. But no, I think you got to be so proud of the lads yesterday for digging deep, like I said, and getting that result and sending us into the last 16 as group winners. So in terms of the teams that we could be facing in the next round, let's just go through them quickly. 1 second. Oh, I don't have it here anymore. I think I liked it on a tweet. Have you got the tweet?
Let's see.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah, here we go.
Club Brugge, Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan, AC Milan or Salzburg, Benfica, RB Leipzig or Shakhtar Donetsk. I mean, when you compare that to if we would have finished second, where we literally could have played all the heavy hitters in Europe, the Real Madrids and the Bayern Munichs and these kind of teams, you've got to be so happy that we finished top of that group because, look, all these games will be difficult, no two ways about it, but I fancy our chances against any of them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any team there where you're like, we have no chance against them. I think we would probably be favourites for all of those teams, to be honest, apart from potentially AC Milan, maybe, but they haven't been brilliant in this season either, or maybe Inter, who have a very good team as well. Albeit, again, they haven't been great either this season. So you'd probably pick Spurs as favourites for all those teams. But then again, I don't think any of them are easy games. But then you're in the Champions League knockout, so obviously you're not going to get many easy games there, are you? So it definitely puts us in a better position to reach the quarterfinals, and then you can. And then obviously that'll be really good for us and for Conte to get that far. But definitely puts us in a better position. You definitely want to be in that pot rather than the other one. That's for sure.
Yeah, Who do you want?
Who do I want? It's a difficult one. I think Bruges are a dark horse in a way, so I don't know if I want them right now.
Although they did kind of flop towards the end of the group. I mean, they had a brilliant first 4 games. Last 2 games, they lost 4-0 and drew 0-0.
Okay, but still, they've got the draw, so it's only lost one of them. So I don't think I would want Bruges. I think someone like Benfica as well. I don't want Benfica. They're playing really well at the moment. I think they're unbeaten this season, and they obviously did really well in their group to get through.
Wow.
So I don't want them. So probably I want Leipzig or Shakhtar. I'd want.
We got battered to Leipzig last time we played them.
Yeah, but they're a different team now. Very different to them. They're nowhere near as good as when we played them.
I mean, they're actually on really good form, Leipzig, at the moment. They've really started their season now, and they're working their way well back up the table. They're actually on massive form.
Yeah, but there's still no one. Then when we played them, they were getting to like Champions League semi-finals. So they're not the team. They're not that team right now. I don't. They might even get through. Then again, I think Dortmund. I wouldn't totally mind them. They kind of been a bit hit and miss this season. But do I really want Inter or AC?
So basically, you don't want any of them.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. They're all tough teams. They're all tough. I'd rather play. Well, I'd probably play Inter or AC. Inter would be just a bit romantic. Obviously, with Conte there. But then they're a good team. Then again, maybe I would want Bruges then. If I'm picking, I don't know who I'd want. Probably Leipzig. I think Leipzig would probably be my
AC
pick.
Milan can still go out. Who do they have in the last game? Who do they have tonight? They got Salzburg tonight, so winner goes through.
Really, so it's a big game.
Yeah.
Very big game. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who would be my pick.
I'm going to go for Club Brugge. Club Brugge, I mean, no matter what you say, they're a dark horse. They've done really well in this group. I mean, with the players that they have, the players that we have, we should be dispatching them. Let's be honest. And actually, who in their group have they actually beaten? Atletico have been majorly off form, in the league and in the Champions League. Porto, they got battered 2-4-0 last week. And Leverkusen, who are also having a shocking season.
But weren't they already through when they got battered?
Probably. Actually, I think they were.
So that's maybe a reason why, because I think they were really good in the first 4 games. Look. I think Bruges is a bit like a team, a bit like.
To be honest, they battered Porto 4-0 as well.
Like Bruges is an interesting one. It's like if you play them in the round of 16, the expectation we're going to be heavy favourites, and that can sometimes play against you. But say if we play them in like a bit later on, like in the quarters or the semis, then I think the pressure might get to them in a way, and then all of a sudden that can help us. But look, obviously I wouldn't be upset if we play Bruges, because I think we could take it. Yeah, it would be a good trip as well, going away to Club Bruges.
Great trip.
Would be a great trip.
We've been to Belgium before for another terrible time.
Yeah, I don't want to remember about that.
But no, I think like I said, I wouldn't mind playing any of the teams in that pot. So yeah. You want to go through the stats?
Yeah, I just want to look at bring on the stats. It's interesting to see the difference between the first half and the second half, as we've already detailed.
It's like playing a broken record after every game we do this.
Yeah, but look at this. First half, 70% possession for Marseille, 7 shots, 3 on target. Spurs had 2 shots. They were both in first half stoppage time as well, from both outside the box from Kane and Højbjerg. And they had 6 shots inside the box, Marseille, in that first half. Second half was a very different story. Although Marseille actually had more shots in the second half than they did in the first half, but we had 5 shots all of a sudden, and we were much more in the game. We had 4 shots inside the box. But what's interesting is looking at the average position. The average position for Spurs was in this game. Look at Sessegnon and Perisic, as you see, 19 and 14, pretty much playing like central midfielders in the game. They were Davis and Dyer were a lot further wider than them, which was really strange as to why that was the case. They're playing wing back, yet Davis and Dyer are further wider than Perisic and Sessegnon. Sessegnon's almost playing like a centre back.
That is strange, isn't it?
In the average position there. Obviously, once the subs came on, Basuma, you can see Emerson was playing the wing back. He was a lot further. He was wider than Dyer. But in the first half, it must have been when Session was there.
I think it must have been because we were coming under so much pressure that Perisic and Sessegnon felt the need to come in very,
we had nothing out
very
wide,
central, just to help us defensively because we were getting peppered.
Yeah, and maybe that's why Tavares was getting a lot of the ball out wide there. But and maybe that leads to us being ultra pragmatic. That you can see there, and that looks like a pragmatic average position.
I mean, we were so deep, so tight, so compact in some stages, but we were so deep. It was actually a joke. Our midfielders, where Højbjerg and Bentancur were, I mean, too deep, way too deep in that first half.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting, and that probably led to, I think, second half, it was probably a different story as to the positioning, as you can see with Emerson. Obviously, Perisic doesn't really show it, but that maybe showed the difference as well, and we were a bit more expansive, exploiting the wide areas as well, made them think more about their defending. So, yeah, that's kind of the game. And in terms of the ratings, Perisic, according to SofaScore, got the highest rating in the game. He was their man of the match, and he played well.
Brilliant yesterday. I kept singing his praises, and I mean, I've been one to criticise Perisic over the past couple of weeks, but I think the last couple of performances from him have been brilliant.
It was actually defensively he did most of his good work.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was really impressed with, because he's been poor defensively for a lot of this season, and yesterday he really stood up to the challenge. And like I said before, that block right at the end to save our blushes was incredible.
Yeah, and obviously, and he got an assist. So really good stuff from Ivan Perisic, and yeah, really good day overall for Spurs.
Don't know who sent the tweet, but I saw a tweet saying I can do Gianni Vio's job if I'm training Perisic at set pieces.
It's unbelievable. Left foot or right foot, it's on the money every time. And even if we don't get a goal, it usually causes panic and a goalkeeper's flapping, or it's usually right in that area of uncertainty.
On the money.
It's so good. He floats it it's not like a lot of power like maybe Son does it, but he just floats it with enough power where it just causes so much uncertainty. And it's so good to have a really good set piece taker there on the pitch like him.
Yeah,
Really
absolutely. A few super chats to get through. BK Afam Sports saying, is Clement Longley now worth signing permanently? Let's talk about Longley, because I don't think we spoke about him too much in the review. I thought it was another really positive display from Longley in that middle of the back three. There were a couple of times he did get breezed past, but I think all in all, I was really happy with his display yesterday.
Yeah, there were a few moments. Sanchez was got the better of him with a few sharp movements, but I think second half mostly he was pretty solid yet again in that central position. He got the goal as well with a really good header. That was also a very impressive header right into the corner.
Times, didn't he?
There was that one moment as well. He charged forwards. Was that Longley charging forward there? And it was playing like a striker. But I'm very happy with him. I think he really stepped up for us when we needed him. And yeah, I have to say he came to Tottenham to play Champions League football.
Exactly.
And Barca won't be. So which is funny. Funny how things
Barca
work out.
will be
like
dropping
that.
out in the Europa League to knock out Arsenal. How things work out.
Yeah, and he was really composed. He just needs to work on those occasional moments where he's
needs to be a bit more stronger in those situations.
But it must give him a massive confidence boost to get that header, to get that goal, and I think he's starting to feel the love a bit at Tottenham now, which he definitely was not at Barcelona.
Yeah, I feel like a player like Longley is growing in confidence, and you're seeing that on the pitch. I think game by game you're really seeing him grow in stature in this Spurs team. And do you think if he carries on going on this path, then we will make it a permanent at the end?
Yeah, I don't see why not. We should make him permanent and sign another one, you know what I mean? As much as Davis is a good player, but he can have cover for the centre, he can have cover for the left, and he could probably be fairly cheap because Barca need the money, and he's not going to command too much of a fee. So I don't think as of right now, if I'm judging his performances on what I've seen so far, would I want to sign him permanently? I would still say...
I'd say jury's still out right now.
I would say jury's still out, but I definitely think, for sure, if he keeps going in the way he's going, 100%, I don't see a reason not to.
And in terms of the positioning of the centre-backs, would you like to see Longley have a prolonged time now in the middle and stick Dyer out on the right, or would you like to see it back to Longley on
Depends
the
on
left
if
and Dyer in
Romero's
the middle?
fit. Depends if Romero's fit.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, so if Romero's fit, no, I would like to see Dyer go back in the centre. Or even Dyer rested and put Longley there, and put Romero, Dyer, and Longley and Davis.
What would your preferred back three be? Starting 11?
I still think Dyer's the better there in the
middle.
centre than Longley. As much as Longley has done all right, I still think Dyer's more suited to that role, and I think his passing range is better than Longley's. But would I rather Longley or Davis on the left-hand side? It's an interesting one. It's an interesting debate. I go back and forth on what's better. I kind of still feel Davis is better in that position, although I do think Longley's a better player. So if Longley can adapt more to that position, I think he would take it.
How many players do you think we are off challenging a Man City? I've been thinking about this over the past 24 hours, and I'm thinking, like, if we sort this defence out and wing-back situation, we really won't be that far away, I don't think.
Yeah, well, then you got to add the depth on top of that.
Of course.
Then you need to get the first 11 right, and then all of a sudden you need the quality depth there as well. And like Man City's depth is just a joke.
Of course.
So you're still about 5 or 6 players probably.
But you know, like Liverpool, they challenge City without their depth being too extensive. You know what I mean? Like you can still do it if you've got a really good starting 11 and you get lucky with injuries and what have you. I'm talking about just in a first 11 kind of perspective. Like if we were to get 2 centre backs, a right wing back, and you know, a Doji hopefully coming in next season and taking the mantelpiece on the left. Do you not think, you know, that puts us in the conversation at least, if they're top players?
If we get two centre backs, a right wing back, I still think we need another centre mid as well, like a good ball playing one.
Yeah,
and I think we'll probably need another forward player as well in that transfer. So I think we're still 4 or 5, and even then, like but the problem is even our best players right now, like. You're up against De Bruyne and Haaland and like Rodri and Bernardo Silva, like ridiculous players. So you can maybe puts us clear in second, but whether we're getting even closer to Man City, we might be getting closer to them, but whether we're actually close to overtaking them, I would still say no. Like City are just ridiculous. They're a joke. They're a joke, Man City.
Yeah, of course they are. But you know, someone's got to challenge them at some point.
Yeah, we will probably be They'll be the closest. We might even be the closest challengers now if Arsenal drop off. But at the moment they're not. We're still about 4 or 5 players from getting close to them, though. But even then, that's just getting close to them. That's whether you say that's challenging or not. It's another question.
Yeah, I don't mean winning the title. I just mean like being up there and being part of the conversation.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Because right now,
like, winning the league is a bit too far-fetched when you've got a team like Man City. But I'm just talking about trying to keep pace with them. You know what I mean? And I think, like,
you could argue we're keeping pace with them now, only 3 points.
Yeah, but you know, it's November, and I think we're not even halfway through the season. A quarter way through the season or something like that. But I think that people underestimate that how much a good defence can transform your whole team. Look at Liverpool. Like, they weren't anywhere near going for the title. I know they got to the Champions League final or even before that. You know, they brought in a Van Dijk, they brought in an Alisson, they transformed their defence, and then suddenly they look like a proper outfit. They always had the outfield, the midfield, and the attackers to really go and strut their stuff like we do now. I think that once we get that defence, a proper defence in there, with the wing-backs Conte wants, I think it can really transform us like to a next level.
Yeah, I completely agree. But it's about getting, no, hopefully we get those defenders, and then all of a sudden we can be a much better team. And maybe as well, it's not necessarily the defence gets better as well, but you have more trust in that defence, so you can actually go forward a lot more. And that allows you to maybe play a lot better football than maybe we're playing right now, which I think a lot of the time he's covering for our backline, which at the moment is because we can't leave them too exposed. The difference I see between us and Arsenal a lot of the time is when Arsenal push forward, they push everyone forward, and then they leave like just Saliba a lot of the time and Gabriel at the back. And when the ball's like when Arsenal are exploited and their attacks break down, and then they've got Saliba in a 1-on-1 situation with their attacker, they just have the confidence that Saliba can deal with that, and he can just come away with the ball. because he's so strong and so quick. The thing is with us is we know you don't want Dyer in a one-on-one situation with another defender. You don't want Longley, to be honest, in a one-on-one situation with another defender. The only one who can really handle it is Romero right now, and that's a big problem with us.
Yeah, completely agree, and that's why I think a lot of the time, we're not looking that great, is because I think that the players and the manager is just trying to compensate for this defense all the time, trying to protect them, where we should have at this stage in those positions better players that don't need as much protecting as these ones right now.
Yeah, and it goes under the radar that Conte, he's doing really well with what he's working with, like with what he's got, and he's getting really good results with the squad that we have. That's not to say we have a bad squad, but we don't have a title-winning squad, and the fact that he's getting very positive results with these players, I think, gets overlooked because he's doing really well to have us through in the Champions League and third in the league, like with the players that he has.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're looking at our rivals, you'd probably say Man U have a better squad than us. Chelsea have a better squad than us. You'd say all of our rivals in the top
in terms of depth and stuff, 100%.
Maybe apart from Arsenal in terms of depth, but they all have a better state of squad than us.
Yeah, and he's doing really well. I think, and I think he's maybe set us up in a good way to go into the second half of the season and really give it a good go and be in a very strong position. Because it could have easily been the case where we could have been languishing in mid-table come the World Cup, then we have to kind of claw it back after. But he's put us actually in a really solid foundation, and I think we are going to be better in the second half of the season. I really believe that.
Yeah, of course we are, and I think we will make signings in January as well. A few super chats. Awesome All saying, sorry about my comment yesterday. I only made a comment when I read Conte out. Not sure what you're talking about, but
Conte, who said Conte out?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but we'll move on to the next super chat. Carl Patrick Vineyard saying, yes, lads, COYS, you forgot to put on the fan cam video. Tottenham Hotspur are the only team in North London playing Champions League.
Damn right, right, Kyle.
Jack Lane with the super chat saying, still having UEFA Champions League is going to do wonders in January.
Yeah, maybe that could help. I still don't think we're getting someone like a Bastoni or anything in January, but maybe when it comes to getting deals like
people like Weston McKennie potentially.
If you're looking at getting like Kulusevski or Bentancur-esque kind of deals, having Champions League will definitely help with that, and we'll become a lot more attractive going into the second half of the season.
Although we got Bentancur and Kulusevski without it last year.
We did. That's true, and that was due to the project. But it definitely helps. Where if a player, for example. Obviously, we can't get players who are in Champions League because there'll be
James Maddison.
There'll be cup tied. But for players who are outside the Champions League who want a shot of getting in the knockouts, someone like a Maddison or that would definitely go a long way to convincing them. That would definitely help.
Would you take a Yuri Tielemans?
Yeah.
I mean, go out of contract at the end of the season.
I think Tielemans would be a very good signing for us. I think he's the type of player we need.
Yeah, ball-playing midfielder. It's got a bit about him. I think that last year he had a poor year. I'm not sure how he's doing this year. I know, obviously, Leicester are doing terrible.
I think he's been better himself, personally. I think he's been much better than he was last. It looks like he was last season. I think he's class as well. I think he's the kind of player as well. You put him in a different environment with better players around him, I think he takes his game up a notch. There are some players who are like that. You just put them in a different environment and they can get new levels out of themselves. And I think he's definitely one of them.
It was actually that trip, wasn't it, when we went to Ghent and we were speaking to the hotel staff.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm an Anderlecht fan. You watch out for Yuri Tielemans.
Yeah, he was 100% right. I think Tielemans would be a good signing. I would even look at, what's his name? For another attacker, Wilfried Zaha has got 6 months left on his contract. I wouldn't say no to him on a deal.
His age?
Yeah. Even at his age,
30?
He will be 30 come the summer. I think he's 29 still.
29, yeah.
Yeah. If he's a free transfer, I believe he's got so much quality. And maybe if he believes he wants to crack a Champions League team, I still think he's class. I wouldn't say no to him.
Would you take someone like Eze over him? Because obviously Eze's age, he has the massive age.
Eze's a bit of a different player, though. They've been playing him in attacking midfield. To be fair, we could do with someone like that. But he's going to command a very big fee. I'm still not I think he's class, Eze, but I'm still not sold on him just yet. As opposed to, is he going to be, is he worth, like, you're going to have to pay 60, 70 million for him, basically. Am I sold to commit that kind of fee just yet? Not yet. I want to see it a bit more consistently from him to be sold on that. But I think he's good. I do think he's really good. But if you're taking, like, if I'm giving a choice to spend 60 or 70 million on Eze or get Zaha for either a really cheap fee or a free, right now I think Zaha would be and as well, I think he offers something different to our attacking options right now, and he can play all across the front line. So I think Zaha would be I would take Zaha. I would definitely take Zaha. I think it'd be class.
I like Zaha, but it's just like, how many good years are you actually going to get out of him?
I think he's got 2 or 3 really good years.
At 30 years old.
I think he's taking care of himself really well. He's still on top of his game right now, Zaha, for me.
He is now.
Yeah.
But for how much longer?
2 or 3 years. You could say the same, yeah.
Do you really want to go in to, and with the state of a squad being our three of our top attacking players all on, approaching into their 30s? You'll have Kane there, Son there, Zaha there. I think it's a bit too much.
I think if you can get him for a good fee, I think it's worth it. I think if you're spending big money on him, I would say you might as well go for a younger guy. But if you're getting a good deal for him, I think it's worth it. I think 100% is worth
Hamid in
it.
the comments saying Eze has a release clause of 35 million.
If that's the case, I'll definitely consider that. You definitely have to look into it. I think this season, though, for Eze, he's done all right, but he hasn't because he had a big injury, Eze, and then he's come back. He hasn't been bad, but he hasn't kind of exploded just yet. I guess you can make the argument, if you sign him now, you're getting him before he explodes, and then he can explode at your club, and that's a good argument. But then again, you're also taking a risk that you sign him and he doesn't explode, he doesn't become the player he should. But 35 million, I guess the risk is relatively not that great. So I mean, I'd definitely say yes to Eze. But I would want Zaha as well. I think he's class.
Tim Anton with the super chat saying, great show as always, lads. I'd love a glamour tie for the next round of the Champions League. Inter would be epic, and maybe we can seduce Bastoni and Martinez with the atmosphere at the stadium. Come on, you Spurs.
Yeah, Martinez, I'd love Martinez.
Lautaro, man.
I'd absolutely love Martinez. I just feel like that dream's getting further and further away. I think we had an opportunity and we just got screwed on that. So, but you never know. Maybe, I don't think this summer, but maybe down the line, if Inter continue to falter,
you never know, because what happens if Inter Milan don't make it into the Champions League?
That's what I'm saying. If they continue to falter,
but even like for this summer, I'm saying, what happens if they don't get top 4 this year? Because that's still it's quite it's not beyond all realms of possibility they don't finish in the top 4 this year.
Yeah. But it's a bit like when we didn't finish outside the top 4 and letting go of Kane. It's like he is their talisman. So
and if Man City stumped up enough cash, we would have let go of him.
Yeah, but that's after how many years?
That was the second year, wasn't it?
No, but that's after how many years of Kane being asked. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How long has Lautaro been at Inter?
He's been there a fair amount, but they're going to fight tooth and nail to hang on to him. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, I can't. And also, he's happy there. And like, I don't look, this summer I see it being very difficult. You never know, if we stump up enough cash, maybe, but I think I see it being very difficult. But I see it being a different situation in maybe a couple of years' time.